400 cases of people who wandered into the wilderness but never came back. Accounts of children, people
was a coyote,
vanishing,
dog, or
seemingly
else.
swallowed up by the many endless forests across America, or even later found in ways that defy logic.
An animal.
Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man.
She described the way that
like
the creature moved would not be unnatural.
You've had problems in the neighborhood
It looked
before?
like it was
Yeah, my dog was
uncomfortable
killed here
in its
just
own
recently.
feet.
I don't know what it was. So whatever it was, it was standing out there. I'm out here looking through the window now and I don't see anything.
She
I don't want to go
believed
outside.
that what she was looking at
Jesus
was
Christ,
pure
you better...
evil.
Sure. Tia,
Hello?
get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9".
Do you see
The
him now,
cases of
sir?
about
Yes, I'm looking
100
right
people,
at him.
at least, who claim that they've been abducted
hang
by
on.
aliens.
He's
One
right.
of Dr. Matt's
Is he in your
patients,
yard,
Linda,
sir?
Yeah,
who
he's
says
gone.
she
He's
has been
big.
Faded out,
abducted
like
since childhood.
reality. I was just
what I remember
being brought up this tunnel of light, right? Out this tunnel light, just like noticed parts of my life that I wouldn't even occur to me to remember. Then I knew that I wasn't
I
in
never
my
told
body,
anybody
that I
about
was
that, and I just buried it in the back
And so
of my
then I
mind.
came to the end of this tunnel and noticed there was a man that first starts me at first as a
mist
wizard.
or a fog
And
kind
I also saw
of
a
moving.
relative that had
The
died.
action, the
That-
motion caught my
then
eye. It
the
actually
wizard,
started
without
taking
moving his
shape,
mouth,
taking
spoke to me and
form.
said,
The
"Struggle
idea of
with
the
you
Grim
to
Reaper
die."
went through my head, cloaked figure. And as I was watching, it kept becoming more and more and more distinct to me that this was actually something with some type of presence. Like it knew I was there. And as I was watching it, it turned and looked directly at me. I felt like whatever this was angry at me. I wasn't welcome. It wanted me out. I had been face to face with a ghost or a demon, a spirit. I'm not really sure what. But this feeling of terror actually was going through me. And I really felt more that it was demonic.
Hey everybody,
something
and
very
welcome
evil.
to Real Supernatural Encounters. For my guest today, I have an old friend and a best friend. His name is Lewis, and he's going to be telling a few of his stories and his near-death experience. But before we get to that, Lewis, could you give a brief bio about yourself?
My name's Lewis. I live in Madisonville, Kentucky. I was raised in Kentucky. I've known Anthony for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be on his show and ready to tell my story.
All right. Well, Lewis, when you're ready, go ahead and start with your first story, being your near-death experience.
All right, man. With my near-death experience, my dad has always told me not to tell nobody this because it made me sound crazy and stuff like that. But, you know, I was just like, whatever, dude. It happened. It's real.
Yeah.
I ended up wrecking an SUV. I hit the back end of a Rumpkee trash truck and had to be life flighted from there to the University of Louisville Hospital. Well, when I entered the ambulance, they kept giving me shots of fentanyl into my veins. And then they did one in each arm. And then when I got onto the helicopter, they gave me more fentanyl. And I kept telling them, I don't want no more. I don't want no more. Please stop, you know. And which it's weird because in that story, I was on the helicopter and I looked at the pilot and all the, I guess, the flight trauma nurses. And I told them that this helicopter is going to go down in the next few days if you don't get it fixed.
Oh, wow.
Whatever, you know, you crazy. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. We done dosed you up with 120 milligrams of fentanyl. All right, whatever, you know. Well, we land, we get to the hospital, man, and instead of asking anything of how much medicine they gave me or anything like that, they just went ahead and put me under. Well, that killed me. When they put me under, the doctor that was taking care of me and stuff, he gave me the gas and I flatlined. I was gone. And when that happened, if you've ever been on like a airplane or anything like that, anything that takes off with a lot of force and puts you back in the seat, that's what it felt like, leaving my body. It felt like I was slammed into the back of a seat and it was just a bunch of bright lights. Everything's just going 100 miles an hour. And it was freaky, dude. I didn't understand what was going on. I kept hearing this loud rushing noise and the lights are spiraling. And I'm just like, okay, you know. maybe it's just some kind of effect from the gas. No.
Mm-mm.
Finally, it all just stopped. It just instantly stopped. And I ended up in, it was like a giant white room. I was wearing a white tux. And all I could see was my hands. I couldn't see my face. I could see the tux. And as I was walking, there was a table set up. And at the table, you had the devil, Jesus, and God. Well, I walked up and God asked me if I was going to bow before him. And I told him no. I said, you told me not to bow for nobody, so I'm not going to do it. And he just looked at me like, okay. Well, I remember the devil's over there laughing at me. I told him, excuse my language, but I told him, shut the hell up. I did. I was like, I ain't got time for you. Jesus, he was just kicking it. They were playing cards and talking to people, especially my wife and stuff. She said that's a form of purgatory, because I wasn't in hell, nor was I in heaven. I was in like that middle earth kind of thing. Like I was stuck. And talking to God, he kept telling me that my mission's not over. You're not done yet. You need to go back to earth. And I begged and I pleaded and I told him, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back. There's nothing but pain and misery there. He said, I understand that, but you're not going to stay here because you're not finished doing what you have to do. And I kept begging and he just didn't deal with it. And I felt like the floor dropped out from underneath me and I was free falling. And when I was free falling, it felt like I smacked the concrete when I got to the end. And when I was sitting there, I started coming to because they brought me back to life. And I had this nurse just cleaning my face, man. Cleaning my face. Like, oh, honey, I'm getting the blood off your face. I'm cleaning up your body from all this, from the wreck. I was like, okay, thank you. Well, I wake up a little bit more. There's no nurse. I lay back down. I wake up again. I have someone stitching my head because I split it from the front to the back. And this guy, instead of doing it in like, that black thread that they use for stitches, they put blue in my head. They put blue stitches. And the guy had tattoos all up his arms and stuff. And I'm just like, what the heck? He left the needle in my head to walk out of the room to answer the phone. And I was just like, what the heck's going on? I had this little U-shaped needle stuck in my head. It's like, okay. He comes back in, he finishes his job. I fall back asleep. Well, when I wake back up, I asked the nurse at the front desk, I said, where's the nurse and the guy that took care of me while I was in here? She looked at me and told me, she said, honey, no one's been in your room since you've come out of surgery. I said, no, there was a nurse that cleaned my face because the rags are still over there. There was another nurse that sewed me up, or a nurse practitioner, I'm not sure who he was, that sewed my head up. She looked at me and said, no, nobody has been in your room. It's just been you. I'm like, well, okay, whatever, that's creepy. And then that's when my brother and them showed up. It's like with the near death experience, man, it happens so quick. You're there and then you're gone. And only people that really has been through death, have died on the table or have died somewhere and then came back, would really understand that. Some people go to heaven, some people go to hell, and it's really a wake-up call. I ended up in the middle because I wasn't done. Maybe it was to raise my family. Maybe it was to be on your show and speak about it, but that's with my near-death experience, man. That's it. It was quick like that.
Okay.
And it's something that you will never forget.
Well, I guess when you're ready, go ahead and start with your second story, the haunted rehab room 211.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you enter rehab, man, and I'm not afraid to tell anybody, I had a rough past and I decided to change my ways. So I seek help. Well, when you enter this place, you know, you start in SOS, which is just a big dorm. And then you work your way up through the steps and you make it into like a single man room, 4-man single man rooms. And I was in a single man room. So I was by myself. They just built this building. It's probably about 3 years old now, or 4 tops. Well, right next to it is where they fought a big Civil War battle. So they got this big old Civil War battle over here that they had long back, you know, back in the day. They bought this land, they built this, and I think it was like a $9 million building. And I'm just sitting in my room and I keep seeing stuff happening, you know. I'm just like, man, this is a brand new building. You wouldn't expect anything. You know, just lights be flickering. I was like, oh, that's electricity, you know, there's something going on with that. Or my rag will fall off in my shower. And I'm like, you know what? I always trying to find a reason or some kind of, there ain't nothing going on there. Well, then come find out the person that sponsored me, or still does, he was like, hey, what room are you in? I said 211. He's like, yeah, that room's haunted. I was in that room. And he had some weird stuff happen to him and everything like that. So, I mean, it was creepy because, you know, you be in there by yourself and you just keep hearing little things and you just try to make up some kind of excuses of why this is happening or why that is happening. You know what I mean? You try to explain it. You try to explain the unexplainable. So, I mean, through that, I wasn't in that room too long, obviously. It was only a couple months and then I was out. But it was the next person I'll make sure to let them know that it was haunted. So that way they could figure out what's going on in there too. But that was pretty cool, man. You know, just walking into your room knowing there could be somebody else in that mother trucker with you, just like from the 1800s, like, hey, what's up? Like, no, get out, you know. So
I agree with you, man. All right. So now let's go ahead and move to your story of seeing your sister in the mirror.
Oh, okay. I was young, man. We lived in the country. I grew up in the country. We lived in the country, and we lived in this trailer. And you know, that stuff normally happens super early in the morning, between like 12 and 4 or 5 in the morning. It's always something creepy going on. You don't like to get up out of bed during that time, you know. So I got up, you know, I had to go get a drink and use the bathroom. All right, so I go get this drink and I walk over to the bathroom. I'll wash my hands after I'm done using the restroom. And I'm sitting there washing my hands. I'm looking down, looking at the sink, washing my hands, and I turn the water off. And when I look up, boom, my sister's right there in the mirror. And she was only like, I think I was like 14 and she was maybe 9 or 10. And she's completely blue, like a dark blue. So I turn around, I swing, and I hit the wall, punch the freaking wall. It scared me, you know, and I'm like, what the hell, you know? And I look back down, wash my face, and I look back up to see if she was there. Nothing, gone. So I run to her room real quick, and I look in there, and she's out, asleep. So I had to wake her up, you know what I mean? Make sure she was okay. Like, what the heck? You know, I wake her up, and she's like, what are you doing? Leave me alone. Get out of my room, you know? And I'm just like, what the heck, dude? What's going on here? And after that, I was just real nervous about going to the bathroom at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, it ain't gonna happen, you know. But that was creepy, dude. I hit the wall. My dad was pretty mad. He didn't understand. He was like, what the heck? And then when I told him, he was like, oh, did you pray? I said, yeah, I prayed. I prayed. So that was pretty neat, but scary at the same time, man.
All right. Okay, let's see here. All right, I guess if you're ready, we can move on to your next story. When you were 16 years old.
Okay. When I was 16 years old, man, I was young. I was with my daughter's mother. We lived in Frankfort, Kentucky, and it was on Clay Street. This house, man, it is a duplex. And it had a bunch of steps going up to this creepy thing. When you get up there, it's got all old wooden floors, you know, it's got basement, upstairs, all that stuff. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. Well, she decided she wanted to go out to the bar. She's older. She could. I'm 16. I can't go nowhere. You know, I wasn't allowed to drink at a bar. Well, I'm sitting there. I'm like, bye, see you later, you know, about 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm just laying there watching TV. And all of a sudden, it started out like just a simple sound, just a sound like someone was walking, you know what I mean? Just on the steps, just, you know, I'm like, all right, you know, they got a cat and a dog, but the dog was in the bed with me, you know what I mean? It was a little chihuahua. That thing was next to me. It shook all the time, you know? And they had this cat that ran around everywhere. I was like, all right, whatever, you know, it's a cat. It's a cat. Well, it starts getting louder. Like, what's going on, you know? And I ain't getting out of bed. Stuff, you know, I'm not moving. I'm watching TV, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, the freaking cabinet door just slammed, just like bam. And I'm like, that dang cat done knocked something off the shelf, you know? Well, all of a sudden, a cat comes in the room running, and I'm like, what the cat didn't like me, you know? I don't know why. It wasn't very friendly to anybody. And it jumped up in the bed with me and the dog. And then the noise that started happening even louder. It sounded like pots and pans are like clinging together and smacking the floor. And then it went on for about 5 minutes, man. And then all of a sudden you just hear this loud scream. And you're like, whoa, you know, I'm like, all right, at that point I was like, screw it. I got up, turned on every light in the house. You know what I mean? It's like click, 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 running down the steps. Like, if there's somebody in here, I'm either gonna fight them or I'm going out the door. Well, I get down there, nothing. Cabinets are closed, nothing's knocked off the shelves, everything's clean. I'm just like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I'm done. I wouldn't go in the basement. You know how you read them Goosebump books, you know, like don't go in the basement. Well, was that scenario. There was something in that basement. I don't know what it was. It make me sound crazy, but I didn't like going down there and doing the laundry, dude. I walked down there one day and all the lights just flipped off on me and the door shut. And I'm like, what the? I'm running up the steps. It's pitch black. This is before we had cell phones that had lights on them. You know, we had an old flashlight. I'm running up the steps trying to open the door, and it felt like it was locked. Maybe I was panicking. I don't know, but I finally got it open. And after that, I wouldn't go in the basement. Well, it was either the next morning or the morning after that, my daughter's mother gets up. I think she was going to drill. And she seen this floating orb right there by the bathroom and the steps. Because, like, as you walked out our bedroom, you turn left, there's the bathroom. And then there's the steps. Well, there's just floating orb just sitting there. Then all of a sudden, it just takes off super fast and down the steps, disappears. We moved out of there. We moved real quick, you know what I'm saying? So we moved on. We moved on to our next place that was haunted. And had to deal with stuff there too. It seems like everywhere I go, man, there's always a ghost and they're never really like evil spirits or entities. They're just ghosts or with premonitions or anything like that. They just want to be noticed. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm not here to hurt you, but I'm here to let you know I'm here. So we moved over to another place called Ravencrest Apartments. The name of that's just creepy, you know, Ravencrest. It's like, yeah, there's gonna be something going on there, you know. You don't think about it. You're just like, I'm gonna live here. I'm like, all right. Well, my daughter was born at the time, brand new baby, little bitty old baby. We had the nursery. Like, our bedroom's on one side of the hall, she's on the other. And my mom was real big into the ghost hunting and seeing ghosts, and she loved it. Like, I can deal with anything that is real, but I can't deal with someone in a mask. Haunted house, not doing it. You know, that, you know, people in masks, but if it's real, oh, I'm in there. I'm ready to do it. When my mom comes over and, you know, I have to go to work. So I'll go to work and I come back and I open the blinds in the morning at that house. I always open them because I like the sunlight. And so I open these blinds and my mom, she's watching my daughter. Well, she's sitting there and she goes to put my baby in her crib so she could sleep. It was nap time. Well, my daughter starts screaming. And my mom's like, what the heck, you know? So she goes to walk in there, that all the blinds are closed. and the baby's covered up and she's no longer crying. And then all of a sudden you hear my mom go, or she heard a voice that was like, she's okay. I took care of her. And then my mom sees this, like, what would you call that? It's an outline of a nurse just sitting there. And then she just vanished. So we had this nurse, and she did not like the blinds being open. Anytime you open them blinds, dude, they'd be shut. They'd shut back. And I'm like, okay, don't open the blinds no more. She didn't like it. I don't know why. I think it was because it was a baby's room. She was a nurse. She wanted the baby to be relaxed and comfortable. And I guess she felt like the light was bothering her. So I let her do what she wanted to do. You know what I mean? There was no reason for me to mess with her and make her mad in any way. But our AC unit goes out. So they come in, they have to pull it out and fix it. They pull it out, and then there's all these newspaper clippings from, I think it was like Desert Storm or some kind of war or something. I can't remember which war it was, but just loaded in there, man. Talking about a nurse, how she died in duty and all this stuff. And I guess her soul was connected to the building or that area. I don't know, man, but it was creepy. I wish I could have kept the clippings, but over time, man, I've lost all kinds of stuff. I don't even know where it's at now. But if my mom was still alive, she would tell you she loved it. But yeah, that's what happened with my daughter and her nurse ghost.
All right. Well, I have tons of questions for you if you're ready to answer them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. Finishing this one up.
Oh, I do have one more story I could tell you real quick.
Yeah.
Or finish your questions, man. People thought I was really freaking crazy on this one until someone else got to experience. A couple other people got to experience what I was experiencing. And I remember that house you came to in Carrollton.
Yeah.
That house. I was sitting there doing the dishes, man, and I was just sitting there. I was washing the dishes, and hear this little girl laughing. I'm thinking it's outside, right? I'm like, all right, look outside, and there's no kids. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Then all of a sudden, I hear, you want to play?
No.
I'm like, you want to play? I'm like, no, not really. She's like, I want to play. I said,
oh my God.
Okay, what do you want to play? She said, I want to play hide and seek. I straight was like, how are we gonna play hide and seek when I can't see you? You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna win, Well, she was like, that's okay, I want to play. I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna count to 10 and you gotta hop. So I start counting. And then all of a sudden you start hearing little footsteps running down the hall. I'm like, okay, here I come, ready or not, here I come. And I start walking, and you can hear this little girl giggling. And I'm opening the doors, and I'm like, all right. And I just keep hearing her giggling. And I just opened one door and I was like, oh, I found you. And she started laughing and took off and disappeared. That was it. She didn't come back out to play. I was like, okay, I guess I won, So I'm sitting there, and I had a friend come over, and we're just sitting there, talking, watching TV. I think I was cooking something, and all of a sudden, he hears it. This little girl goes, hey, you want to play hide and seek again? This dude jumps up out of the chair like, I'm done. What was that? I'm like, it's just a little girl. She just wants to play. So we're going to play. But I think he scared her. So she was gone. Like, what the heck? She wouldn't answer me. Well, then has a couple other people come over. Here come the little girl. She's like, you want to play? I was like, yeah, let's play. And they were like, what is going on? And I'm like, just be quiet and watch. I'm like, all right, you ready for me to count? And she starts giggling. She just giggled. It was, I want to play, and then she would giggle. That's all you got from her.
Mm-hmm.
So I start counting, and then she starts giggling, and I go and find her again. And then I told her, I was like, it's time for you to go home. It's time for you to go to heaven. You don't need to be here no longer. And when I found her, she was giggling, and she said, okay. And that's the last time I heard from her.
Wow.
Whoa, dude, and people thought I was crazy until they started seeing and hearing this stuff, and they're like, okay, this dude ain't lying. I'm like, yeah, I try to tell you, you know what I mean? But people, it's hard to believe something you can't see, In that same house, I've also when I was speaking to you earlier about being able to describe someone to a family member that I've never seen before. I described a mother and a grandfather they were just standing there. This was after my wreck. I'm just sitting here and I'm looking at these people, and I look over this person, I'm like, your grandpa, wrap a blanket around his neck, and he's about 5 something, 5 foot tall, and wears a little hat and got white hair, and look like the old man from Up. And she said, yeah. I'm like, and does your mom look like, this lady was wearing a dress, had long black hair and real pretty. And she said, yeah. Well, she goes and gets pictures. I said, yeah, them two people right there. She about lost it, dude. She cried and everything else. And I was just like, never seen these people in my life. Never even heard stories about them, but seen them. They were checking on her, making sure she was okay and her babies. And I remember the grandpa saying something, and the mother's like, no, he's fine. He's the one who protects him. And then they disappeared. So I don't know. I've seen a lot of weird stuff, brother.
Yeah.
A lot of weird stuff.
Wow. That's crazy. You mentioned that house or trailer or whatever it was over there when I came and visited you in Kentucky. Yep. And I remember right before I was about to go to sleep on your guys' couch, you and your woman at the time was talking about the ghost that would come like the other day, just show up in the living room right where the couch is. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I'm about to go to sleep. You're going to tell me this?
Yeah,
and
man.
I had the worst feeling ever. Laying on that couch, feeling like I'm being stared at the whole entire time. And I didn't sleep worth crap that night.
It probably was, man. To be honest.
I kept telling myself, just ignore it. Just ignore it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Hey, I told myself that sometimes, man. And the scariest thing I've ever seen was a demon. It was an event. It was just dark. And it had these, like, I won't say glowing eyes, but they're like piercing. And it was just sitting there. It was like waiting to do something. And I remember someone telling me to, if you see a demon or something like that, you open the door and tell it to get out with a firm voice. And I did. And all of a sudden you see this thing just disappeared. And it never came back. And I was just like, all right, that scared the crap out of me.
Now, what did it look like?
It was just real dark face, real dark. And it was in like, the big return vents. It's just looking down at me. And it's just like snarling. And it's just it gives me goosebumps talking about that because it was just staring at me like, and all this happened after my wreck. And it just like was waiting for me to do something wrong to where it could take me. And it wasn't going to happen. I was like, no, bye. You know what I mean? I told it to get out with a firm voice. It was a dark figure. It had like, the eyes were super dark, but very piercing. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't really see its teeth. It just kind of like floated, like it was like smoke.
Yeah. Okay.
Super dark. Yeah, and I got rid of that pretty quick. So
wow, you answered one of my questions I had written down.
See, there you go.
What would be the second scariest thing that you've seen other than that demon?
Probably my sister, man.
Okay.
My sister Blue, that scared the crap out of me.
Now, when we're going back to your very first story where you got in a car accident, what injuries did you succumb to in your car crash?
I broke my ribs on my left side. I split my head wide open. I broke my hip. So a lot of that was painful, and it was on different sides of my body, so that was rough. I remember just laying out the car. I don't know if you know how your adrenaline's pumping and you get like extra strength. I actually bent the door back to open my car door. I bent it all the way back so that way the airbag smoke and everything would go out because I thought I was on fire. And it released, and then my adrenaline slowed down, and I had blood dripping down in my face, and yeah, it was rough.
Wow. How long did it take to heal from all that?
Honestly, I healed pretty quick. I think I pushed it a little too much because the doctor told me I wasn't supposed to walk for like 6 weeks.
Mhm.
Well, they were actually pretty surprised on how quick I healed in the hospital because I only spent 2 days, and my body started to like regenerate real quick and started healing itself faster. And I got out. Um, I remember getting stuck in a wheelchair, and I was like, "Yep, that ain't gonna happen no more." So I got rid of the wheelchair and started walking. And you know what? You wouldn't think it's not very scary falling until you break your hip
Yeah.
and then you fall because it's like the longest drop ever. So that's definitely scary. Oh, my baby's coming in. She's a little
Alright.
old. So
Now,
she,
so okay, so you had all those injuries and everything. Then you're taken into the helicopter, and you said to them that you better get this helicopter checked out because it's going to go down in a couple of days.
and it
Uh,
did.
It did. Okay,
It
that was my
did.
next
3 days
question.
later, 3 days later, after I got out of the hospital, this helicopter goes down checking phone lines. They were flying over checking phone lines. No one got hurt or anything, but the helicopter just quit and boom, wrecked.
Wow.
And they're like, "What the heck?" I said, "I told you. I'm not crazy. I told you." I don't know what it was. I could just hear something with the helicopter. It was
Yeah.
just making some weird noises. And I was like, this thing's about to go down on you. No one's gonna believe you. You got all this fentanyl and stuff in your veins right now. They think you're crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm holding on to a can of WD-40 like I wouldn't let them have it. And
Really?
then, yeah, man. And I told them that your helicopter's about to go down. And they're like, no, 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 it ain't, And then 3 days later, bye. Bird went down.
What do you mean you're holding on to a can of WD-40?
When I wrecked, man, I don't know why I had a can of WD-40 in my hand, but I wouldn't let them take it away from me. I made it somebody else's, and I was going to give it back. And I did.
Yeah.
I gave
Wow.
that can of WD-40 back. So, I don't know.
Was you still in the hospital when that helicopter went down?
No, it was right after I got out of the hospital, the helicopter went down.
How'd you find out?
The news.
No way.
Yeah. And I just remember, this helicopter, and it was in the same area, and it was the same helicopter as the flight helicopter for the hospital. And there you go.
Wow.
People don't want to listen. People should listen, and I may not know everything, but I don't know, if you feel something, you feel it,
Yeah. What? So, okay, now back at your car crash, I forgot to ask this. What was your top speed that you were going before you wrecked? And what did you wreck into?
I was going 25 miles an hour, and I wrecked into the back of a Rumpkee trash truck.
Okay. All right.
I hit the left side of it. It destroyed the vehicle, man. I was in a Ford Explorer, and them things can take an impact.
And you wouldn't think 25 miles an hour would cause that much damage.
Well, when you're going slower, the impact's harder.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you're on the interstate and you're going faster, you're doing 70 miles an hour, they want you to, if you hit each other, you're going to bounce off. Well, if you're going 25 miles an hour, the crunch and the impact's a whole lot harder, especially with a stationary vehicle like that.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I'm the one who hit the back end of that, because behind me was an elderly lady with her grandchildren. So and they were in a small car that could have possibly killed them. I went ahead and took that impact. I didn't see it, man. It was 7:30 in the morning. I went to go put down my visor, and as I went down with the visor, I smacked it back in the truck. It was in a blind curve.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sucked.
Holy crap, man. Wow. So now you went through that wreck, you got into the helicopter, they get you into the hospital. Was it as soon as you were on the bed, they put you under?
Yes.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you were just gone.
I was dead. Bam.
Wow. And now you were seeing this, you went to this like wormhole. Can you describe in more detail like the events that took place right during that time?
Yeah, as I'm going through it.
Yeah.
Okay. You know how like when they tell you when you die, you hear like real loud train noises or a whistling noise or something like that. Yeah. You do. And if you've ever watched Twilight, you know, in the beginning when it's doing all that spinning and has that weird music going on, you know, it's like trying to hypnotize you or whatever kind of thing. Well, that's what it's kind of like, man. But you're just sitting back in this chair and it's like got you drilled like to the chair and you're flying so freaking fast. And if you've ever watched a movie with time traveling and you see them in what do you call it? The wormholes or whatever.
Yeah.
And all the bright lights and stuff are just flying by you and you're just kind of sitting back and yeah. That's what it's like, dude. It's a rush. And scary at the same time because you have no idea where you're going.
Yeah.
No idea.
What was your thoughts and stuff when it was happening?
What the heck, you know, like what's going on, you know? And then I hit that room, it did stop, like, and you're like, okay, you know. So
okay, so you come to a dead stop, and all of a sudden you see yourself. Did you know right then and there that you were dead?
I had a feeling, man, because it wasn't like Earth, you know. I couldn't see my face. All I could see was my hands, and I had a ring on and this white suit. That's all I could see. And this white room with just, I think it was one table, and then like the headmaster's chair, and you know, and you're just kind of walking in there, and you're just like, okay. Which, like I said, a lot of people describe it as purgatory. Yeah. It's where that's more of a Catholic thing. It's where you go when you have unfinished business.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're not ready to go to heaven or hell. Like basically you have a chance to straighten up your life to make it to heaven before you enter in hell. So I'm like, okay, good. You know, I bet I got a second chance at life.
Now, how long was you in that room for?
Man, it felt like I was only in there for maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's it. They don't talk much.
Yeah.
Devil laughs. Jesus is like, I'm ready to come back to earth. And God's just like, well, see you later. You know what I mean? And you don't really see God's face, man. All you see is this white robe and his hands and his, for me, he had long hair and, you know, you couldn't really see his face, but you could see Jesus, and Jesus looks, maybe it's where I've seen like all the drawings over time of what Jesus would look like. And that's what he looked like to me. And the devil didn't look like the devil.
What
he looked like a regular person, dude, wearing a suit.
Really?
Oh, you're just kind of like, he didn't have the big horns. He wasn't red. He didn't have, you know, a tail or scary looking. He looked like a normal person. And I'm just like, huh, you look like people that walk on the earth. You know what I'm saying?
Can you
walk among you? It's real.
Can you describe like what his facial features was, the devil's, and what he was wearing and everything?
He was wearing a black suit. His facial features, man, I don't know. He was Caucasian, and he had his hair parted and all that stuff. He looked like a legit businessman.
Yeah.
He was ready to make a deal kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, not going to happen. But you couldn't really see their faces all that well. You could just see what they look like and their hair, because they'd always have their head down like this, and they'd be laughing or trying to talk to each other, and they're all in the same room. And, you know, Jesus is just sitting over there, kicked back, ready to do something. Yeah. It looked like he was bored, really. But, you know, the devil, he just wouldn't stop laughing. I got tired of it. Like I told him, shut the hell up. I was tired of you freaking giggle at me. So I was like, all right, you know. And God, when he spoke, the other two stopped. And he told me, you know, it's not your time. Your mission's not over. You have to go back. And then he don't play. You don't beg him. He just drops you. Go, you know, you're going to do as I tell you to. And I did, man. And believe it or not, from that point, I actually changed my life. I did a whole 180.
Yeah.
You know, I just passed my journeyman's plumbing exam. So that makes me a licensed plumber. I'm a firefighter with the Anton Fire Department. I love it. I love my company. I work for Sullivan's Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. My bosses are amazing. They're Tim and Tammy. They help you with everything, dude, and they're very understanding. And my wife, I'm so grateful to have my wife and all my children. I have 4 kids now, so it's
Nice.
wonderful.
And you just got married, right?
Yeah, and I just got married July 22nd. So
congrats, man. That's great. It sounds like you did, you know, if people only knew more of your background, they could see how far you really have came up, you know, and it's all from dying, you know, everything changes for you. You know, how amazing is that?
It's absolutely amazing, man, because when you die, it definitely opens your eyes to another world. And you take what, what you learn from there, and you just kind of keep pushing forward, because you don't want to end up in a bad place, you know what I'm saying? And you want to do what you can to enter heaven, and that's where I want to go when I die. I don't want to go back to a white box. I don't. So.
Okay. All right. Now, so when you told the devil to shut the hell up, did he shut up, or did he laugh about that too?
He just kept laughing, man. He doesn't listen. He doesn't listen, He just kept laughing like, oh man, this guy don't care. Like, no, I don't. Like, you leave me alone, And it was pretty neat though. My experience, it was scary but cool. It was neat. My dad told me I was crazy. Had other people. I even tried to tell the story to other people, and they're just looking at me like, okay, bro, there's something wrong with you, But then there's people that's experienced that exact same thing, a near death experience, and they're like, the scenery and everything that they went to is a little bit different, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
Same kind of storyline there. So I was like, well, at least I'm not crazy,
Yeah.
So it worked out.
So, okay, now what kind of cards was they playing with? You said they were playing with some type of cards.
They were just playing cards, man. It kind of looked like the old bicycle cards, you know what I'm saying? The ones you can just buy at the store. They're just playing cards. Him and Jesus and the devil just sitting there playing cards. I don't know what they were playing, but all I said, they just kept playing cards. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And what's weird is right after that, I ended up in jail, and that's when my life started to change. And
Really?
I do not like playing cards, period. So,
wow.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let's see. You were in the middle ground, or as they call it, limbo.
Yeah.
And you said that when I asked you how long you were there, you said only probably about 10, 15 minutes. Or did it feel longer?
For me, it was 10 or 15 minutes, but I was in the like operating room or whatever you want to call that from like 8 till 2. So I was there quite a while, but for me, it only felt like 15 minutes.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
Now, did you have any weird dreams or nightmares after you've died?
After I died, yeah, I have dreams all the time about, and a lot of people do have these dreams, like you dream something and then it happens. It's kind of like deja vu. It's like you see it before it happens, and then when it does happen, it may not happen tomorrow or the next month. It may be a year later, and you're like, man, I've seen this before. Well, I've seen it in my dream, and I remember it, and it happens, and you're just like, wow. So it's pretty cool.
Now, most people, when they die, they can come back with some type of special ability. Not all of them, but most of them. Have you developed any kind of ability that you've noticed since after your passing and coming back?
I guess you would say probably knowing what someone's going to do before they do it. And this is also really weird, is when I came back, man, it felt like everybody told me their problems. I'd be sitting there. I was sitting in I was trying to get health insurance, and this guy is in front of me, and he just turns around, he looks at me, he said, man, I've lost my house, I've lost my kids, I've lost everything, and I'm rebuilding, and I pray to God and everything, and I need help. And do you think he's going to help me? And I was just like, yeah, he's going to help you. Just keep praying. And then he turned around, and that was it.
Huh.
And I was somewhere else, and this woman was telling me about how her husband beats her, and she don't want to be there no more, but she's afraid to leave. And then that was it. And I'm like, what is going on, man? Like, You don't have to tell me your truths or anything like that. So that was strange. That it still happens from time to time, and you just kind of sit there like you listen,
Yeah.
because most of the time people just want someone who's going to listen, and it's freaky, especially with strangers,
Yeah.
If I'm sitting down talking to somebody I know and they're telling me their stuff, that's fine. I'm like, cool, it's understanding. But when it's strangers out in the community and you're just kind of looking at them like, uh-oh, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Now,
Yeah.
what have you seen that's, what kind of changes have you seen in yourself besides, all these good things that you've been doing, with the new job and stuff? What personally, like inside about yourself, feels different or has been changed to something different since you've died?
For me, man, I started getting away from God before the near death experience. And then after the near death experience, I started becoming more, I don't know how you'd say that. I just follow God more now. I try to do everything God wants me to do and keep moving forward. And I like going to church and stuff, you know what I mean? But I don't go as much. I believe in God, I believe in Jesus and stuff like that, but I have my own form of religion, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just something that I do different, and it's made me feel 100 times better, man. Working out makes me feel good, just healthier lifestyle. I'm 100 times happier. And it's because I've changed so much inside of me.
Yeah.
That kind of like released me to be the best I can be. And it's wonderful. It's awesome.
I'm glad, man. I'm really happy to see that there's a lot more good and better things happening for you and in your life. And, you're away from anything negative, even those demons that want to hang out in your house.
Yeah. I'm glad they're gone too, man. There's a
Now,
lot, man.
What's the craziest thing that happened to you when you were in that rehab in the room 211? Like what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you? And what's the craziest thing that ever happened to your sponsor when they were in that room?
It was always just small stuff, man, just little things like, just stuff falling off or just anything like that, lights flickering. It was never nothing major. I don't think the ghost was strong enough to be able to like present itself or do anything. Or maybe it's just someone that was stuck and was trying to find a way out.
Yeah.
One thing I like to do a lot of is help ghosts or people in limbo or whatever find their way to where they need to go. So I enjoy doing that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I forgot to ask this when we were talking about your crash, but when you did die, how long do you think you were dead for?
That I don't know.
You don't know?
I have no idea, man. All I remember is dying and then waking back up. And the events that happened in between. It was quite a while, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was pretty neat. So
okay. All right. Let's see. When your sister appeared to you in the mirror, why do you think she appeared blue in her face?
I have no idea, man. She was completely blue, her eyes were black, and it was just something. I have no idea why she appeared blue.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was just an evil spirit that tried to take her form.
Yeah.
And present itself to me, especially in that time period, that early morning. It was I don't know, maybe it was trying to scare me or what it was trying to do, but it scared the crap out of me. But after that, I never seen it again, man. And I wish my mom was still alive to tell you some of her stories that she's seen, because it's them were wild.
Do you remember any of hers?
My mom told me multiple stories about, when she lived in Virginia Beach, evil spirits. She had one that picked her up and left marks on her wrist, and just all kinds of different things that happened to her. My dad, when he was younger, he lived in New York. He was born in New York, lived in New York. He was sitting there and he got up in the morning and there was a ghost sitting. Well, not really a ghost, it was more like a demon, because he had silver spoons or silver something. He tried to make a cross, and he told me it started like sparking and doing all kinds of stuff and smoking. So
Oh wow.
it freaked him out. So,
All right. Now, if you was to guess, like what kind of demon or maybe entity was that was your sister, or trying to look like your sister?
man, if I was to guess, I would just have to say it was a demon. Just something that was crawling around on the earth that morning and trying to figure out what to do and trying to, I guess, just cause chaos. It did a little bit, but I was quick to react and get away from it.
So when you rose your head up and you looked in the mirror, where was this entity at? Was it on this side behind you like this or over
Yeah,
here?
it was right behind me, man. It was straight behind me, and when I looked, all you could see was this blue thing, and I kind of moved and saw it completely in the mirror and turned around and swung.
Wow. How detailed was it? Like, did it look like it was just real physical right there or blurry?
No,
How
it was
physical?
physical.
Wow.
It looked just like my sister because my sister had short hair and the eyes were blacked out though, and it was blue and naked. And
Really?
I was like, "What the heck?" And yeah,
Wow.
so it's
Did you
wild.
did you experience anything else after that there or before
Um,
it?
there, no, not really. You always have just little noises here and there. After it, we lived in this holler in a house, and there were spirits down there that my mom saw a lot of. Another little girl and stuff like that liked to run around the house and play. Then there was my mom saw Indian on a horse, going across the creek and stuff like that. But uh, growing up and stuff, I've seen a little bit of stuff, and not a little bit, but a lot. And my wife, she's seen a lot of stuff growing up in them haunted houses. So I'm hoping that maybe one day she'll sit down with you and kind of explain what happened to her. So
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be awesome to have everybody in your family come on. Um, so when your mom passed, did you ever see a spirit of her or have her come in your dreams at all?
yeah, actually when my mom passed, I was watching this little boy and he was just playing and he stopped. And this was after my wreck because my mom died after my wreck. And my this little boy, he just turns around and looks at me and goes, "Your mom's an angel. She's in heaven, Tammy." And I'm like, "Well, boy, you better go home. You don't even know my mom." So yeah, that was strange. I think that was my mom speaking through him. So
Wow. So was he able to see her right there near you or just
I don't know. That's just what he told me. He was only like 3.
wow. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Now, my next question was going to be, has your dad seen anything supernatural? See, and you ended up telling of something he's seen that he took silver spoons or silverware to and made a cross. Did he ever see anything else um, later on when you became an adult?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure on that one.
All right. Now, have you ever had a NDE before the one you currently had when you got in a car crash? Did you ever have one when you were younger?
No.
Okay. Now, what's the oldest or first supernatural experience that you ever had?
Mm. The first one that I absolutely remember is with my sister.
Okay. That was the very first. How old was you?
It's probably about 13.
Okay. Was your sister older than you or younger than you?
Younger.
Mhm. Now, when you were 16, you were with your children's mother and you guys were living in a house together. Why do you think that house was haunted when you were 16?
I don't know, man. The house just been there forever.
Yeah.
It's been there, been remodeled and everything like that. And Frankfurt, it has a lot of scary places. So a lot of paranormal activity happens down there. So there's a lot.
When she came back from the bar and you were home and you experienced all those things with the cabinet doors and stuff opening and all that, when she came home, did you talk to her about that or ask her or tell her anything? No.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope. I just try to forget it, you know.
yeah. Holy crap. Let's see. Do you have any pictures from your car accident?
No, I actually do not, man. The pictures I had, I lost them because it had the actual car where it hit the back end of that truck, and you could see my puddle of blood just laying there and everything. I don't know what happened to them. I just lost them through time.
Have you ever captured any paranormal or supernatural evidence throughout your life on any of your experiences?
Like capture them like with photos or whatever.
Yeah, like a picture of an orb or anything that you might have seen.
Yeah, when I was younger and stuff, I was real big into it. After my sister and I had a camera, you know, and I would always go into the creepiest haunted looking houses I could find and try to capture stuff. And you could hear things and see orbs and you just see stuff falling and you're like, okay, man, you know what I mean. So that, yeah.
You still got me when you're talking about playing hide and seek with that girl, that little girl. I'm like, how are you able just to be like all calm and stuff when this spirit was like, hey, let's play hide and seek, and you're like, okay. You know, you wasn't scared or nothing. You just went with it, huh?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I stayed calm. I was, you know what? It's a ghost. She ain't trying to hurt me, you know.
Yeah.
Just do what they want to do. Now with more scarier ghosts and stuff like that, yeah, you start getting a little you try not to get all hostile or anything like that. You don't want to cause any kind of conflicts or get their energies higher than what they already have because a lot of entities feed off of you too, you know. So you're just kind of like, yeah, let me stay as calm as possible, you know, because once your adrenaline's rushing, but they can feed that fear off of you and then things can turn real quick. So
Was you ever scared when you when she first appeared and she asked you to play hide and seek? Was you scared
yeah,
playing
man.
the game?
I wasn't scared playing the game, no, man. I was more it kind of startled me when she was talking to me. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, like there ain't nobody else in this house. Why are you talking, you know?
All right. So what her voice sound like? Was it there was
Just
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
the little girl, man, just sounded like a little, probably about I'd say about 5 or 6 years old, you know.
Was
Just
it like a girl like it sounded just like a normal human voice, or did it sound distorted, or was it just normal?
it was faint, real faint. Like it took a lot of what she had to ask to play. So it was faint, but you could hear it. It wasn't distorted or nothing like that. It didn't sound like when you're watching Ghost Hunters or whatever, and you hear the what's that called, the EMP or whatever.
Yeah, the ghost box, spirit box, or EV, I don't even know.
Yeah, it was nothing like that.
All right. And so how long did she stay in the house with you until you helped her move on?
Probably just a couple weeks, man. Couple weeks. And then she was free to go. She was happy. She got to do what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
Nobody else would do with her. And I was just like, all right, let's do this, you know. I'm ready to go.
You should have took a video of that guy that when he came over to your house and she said and he jumped and stuff. Like, dude, you should have got a video of that because that would have been the most funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was. He freaked out. He was done. He didn't want to be there no more. I was like, well, that's your fault, man. I try to tell y'all. Y'all don't believe me. People stopped coming over after that. So
what about your significant other at that time of that house? Did she get scared from that girl ghost or anything, or?
Nah, man. She was too busy doing other things. So
I gotta say, Lewis, man, you're a very brave man for sure. I don't know if I could do something like that with any kind of calm or, seriousness, because I'd be scared to do it,
yeah, it's a little scary, dude. But I mean, other than that, if you sit down and you just relax with them, it's all right.
All right. Well, Lewis, you have answered all my questions. And before we get to the end of this video, would you like to give any closing comments or advice for people who could have a near-death experience or experience anything strange or crazy like you?
For me, man, the only advice I could give is when someone tells you you're crazy because you're seeing these things, you're really not. Because it is happening, happening to you. It is real. And the best thing to do is just tell your stories. Because people that are scared to speak out about it because of others, this will help them, move forward in their life. And these ghosts or anything won't have a way to attach to them because they're speaking it into existence and getting rid of it. So,
All
that's
right.
it.
All right, Lewis. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on and tell your stories. And if you ever want to tell any more, I'm definitely I would love to have you back on. So with that being said, thank you again, Lewis. And thank you guys for watching. It's been another episode of Real Supernatural Encounters. We'll see you guys later. See you, Lewis.
See you.